Hi, it's Elise here at Bowman Library with a whole new teen book spotlight. So, for this week, we are exploring some of the books on the recently released Virginia Reader's Choice titles for the 2024-2025 school year. How crazy is this? This is where we're even talking about this. So, quick background, because we're only talking about 6 books here today, but there are 10 books that are on the list. The goal is you read at least 4 of the books on the list, and you get to vote for which one you think is the best. All the votes are tallied up across the whole state of Virginia. The one book with the most votes off the list wins, okay? So you get to decide which book out of the 10 books is the winner. Now, this year's list, the 23-24 list, still is going on. You have until April 30th to read those books and to vote onto those. But you may want to get a jump start on these amazing titles. Now, I will tell you again, there's 10 books. We're only going to talk about 6, and they are amazing. Like, I don't even know which one I honestly would pick, okay? So, you're going to have a really hard decision to make. So let's take a look at 6 of these amazing books. I cannot wait to share them with you that are on the new Virginia Reader's Choice list for high school. First one is The Getaway. Lamar Giles, he's a Virginia author, okay? Our book takes place in Virginia here. And we start by meeting Jay. Now, Jay feels incredibly lucky living on a mountaintop in Virginia, and he's employed by what's called Karloff Country. It's this resort destination for the wealthy. Think kind of like a Walt Disney, like a Disney World type-esque place, only in Virginia. Now, things are not going well for the rest of America, though, as climate change has led to fires, famine, floods, and there is so much instability that it's just like a powder keg that is waiting to go off. Life for Jay is stable, though. Like, what's going on the outside does not really impact what goes on in Karloff Country here. But things start to change when the forces from the outside start to seep in, and it leads to a lockdown, and Jay's friend Connie disappears. As Jay starts to unravel what is going on in both outside and inside of Karloff Country, people's true colors start to show. And Jay finds himself in a situation where he is not only judged because of the color of his skin, but also because he is an employee, okay? And that's when he and his friends decide they are going to do something about it. Now, this unique take on the end of the world and the apocalypse is one that's part thriller, it's part horror, it's part tackling social issues, and it's only done in the amazing way that Lamar Giles can. It is a page turner. It will keep you on the edge of your seat. This is The Getaway. Killers of the Flower Moon. Now, this one is adapted for young readers, okay? So what they've done is they've taken the adult version that was initially published, and they've made it into one that's a little bit more easier, a little bit more readable than the adult one. It's definitely shorter, okay? But just as impactful, okay? So in the 1920s, in Oklahoma, okay, and this is completely true. This is all nonfiction here, okay? There was this first American tribe known as the Osage Nation. Now, they were very wealthy because the land that they owned the land use rights to, was filled with oil. And there were people who did not think that they deserved to have it, and they wanted it instead. In 1921, 2 Osage Indians had disappeared, and soon after, their bodies are found. Then over the next 5 years, at least 22 more people had the same fate. Facing public outcry into why this was happening, and no one was trying to solve it or stop it, the federal government felt the need that they had to get involved, and they created a small law enforcement branch of the Justice Department to figure out all of this, to solve it, to stop it. What they found was a level of corruption, cover-ups, and deception that went all the way up the national level, and this small branch that was formed to make people be quiet became known as what we call the FBI. Now, this true story is one you probably have never heard of, or maybe you've gone and saw the movie that came out for it. But you need, even if you saw the movie, you need to read this, like, immediately. You will not be able to put it down once you get started, and it will. If you're like me when I was reading it, I like, this is part of our history. we need to know and learn from what's happened in our past. And Killers of the Flower Moon helps us do that. So this is Killers of the Flower Moon. This is the young reader adapted version. Incredible nonfiction. This is a must one. Year of the Reaper. So in this adventure-packed fantasy, we start by meeting 18-year-old Cass, who is making his way home across the land, which has been ravaged by disease and drought. When he does return home, though, he soon finds himself saving the infant crown prince when there's an assassination attempt, and he soon learns that everyone thought that he was dead, okay? Then you as the reader find out one of Cass's secrets, that he is a nobleman and his brother runs the land, and everything has changed, including the fact that now Cass can see ghosts after being held prisoner and surviving a near-death experience. Cass quickly finds himself sucked into an intricate plot in which the royal family is the target of again, like wanting to be assassinated, and the individuals involved will stop at nothing to see that they are killed. And it's going to be up to Cass to stop whoever it is, but first he has to figure out who it is. There is a slow build romance, but it does not get in the way of the story, and this standalone fantasy is more adventure and action than fantasy. Okay, there is some fantasy elements, but again, if you're like me, you're not a big fantasy reader, you don't even feel like you're reading fantasy when you read this one, okay? It's a fast-paced read, again, the action, adventure-packed. You'll be along with Cass through this mystery he is trying to solve. This is Year of the Reaper. Me Moth. This is by Amber McBride, another Virginia author. Actually, it does take place in parts of Virginia here as well, just like in The Getaway. This incredible novel in verse by Virginia author is one that does start off slow. I will warn you, it does start slow, okay? But stick with it because it packs a punch as it goes, okay? Moth has just lost her entire family in a car crash that for some reason she survived, but now she wishes that she were dead. Like, she doesn't know why she survived this crash and no one else did. Living with her Aunt Jack, Moth keeps to herself. She stopped dancing, which is the one thing she loved doing before the car crash, and she feels invisible. It is when she meets a new student named Sonny that things start to change, and Moth starts to feel as though she is seen again for the first time. Soon the two of them find themselves on a road trip from Virginia to New Mexico to find Sonny's biological father, and what happens along the way will change their lives and everything they knew and understood. Now, there is a slap you in your face moment to which I give so much credit to the author. Like, it is, yeah, like, it again, it starts out slow, I'll promise though, stick with it, okay? It is a powerful read which will stick with you long after the last page. Again, it's a novel in verse, it reads quick, even if you're not a poetry lover. I'm not a huge poetry lover, but I love a good novel in verse. You will love Me Moth. Oh, Bluebird. Okay, so I do have to admit, I'm a little biased. This is one of my favorite historical reads probably over the last couple of years. Oh, so good. Okay, so it's 1946. World War II has just ended, but for Ava Gerst and her nonverbal friend Bridget, life is just starting over as they have come to the United States as German refugees. They are welcomed and greeted by the American Friends Service Committee, where they are fed and housed for the time being. But Ava is carrying a secret that she cannot let anyone know, okay? Her father was a Nazi doctor who ran experiments on prisoners at concentration camps. Okay, think like Joseph Mengele type of person, okay? That's her dad. And she has made a deal with the American government, okay? In order for her and Bridget to have been allowed to come over to the United States as German refugees, because it was incredibly hard to do, especially if you were not Jewish, okay, for them to be having to get the paperwork to come over, she made a deal, okay? She made a deal with the American government that they are convinced her father is living in the United States, okay? They want Ava to go find her father and to turn him in, okay, in order, okay, for them to be able to stay in the United States. But Ava has another plan altogether. She's gonna find her father. Don't get you wrong type deal, okay? but she's not going to turn him in. Instead, she is going to kill him, okay? There are so many storylines within this plot. It adds to this whole scenario and will leave you wanting to know more, like what is going to happen as the plot comes to its penultimate crossroads, and Ava will need to make her choice, okay? This is filled with parts of our history that are not shared or talked about, especially in the post-World War II immediate era. But even if you're not a historical fiction reader, you will enjoy this one. There's mystery, there's storylines, there is some romance to it. There are some plot twists. Like, it's an incredible read. Highly recommend it. This is Bluebird. And our last one is The Words We Keep. Okay, so nothing has been the same for Lily since she found her older sister Alice on the bathroom floor self-harming 3 months before our story begins. Lily decides that she's going to be ultra focused on her schoolwork so she can avoid coming to terms with what happened. But that is going to be even harder to do when she finds out that Alice is coming home after 2 months of treatment. Lily has her own secrets, though, as to how she's been actually dealing with everything. And it's when she's paired with new student Micah, who thinks he knows Lily from being at the same treatment center as Alice, and Alice talks about Lily, that they're partnered up on a school project, that those secrets slowly start to be revealed, and before she know it, Lily is spiraling toward a potentially bad ending. This incredibly realistic story does not shy away from discussions of mental health, anxiety disorders, and self-harm, but they are shared in an impactful and insightful manner. Incredibly well written. It's one of those that it will always, at least for me, helps me see the world a little bit differently in a good way. This is The Words We Keep. So these are just 6 of the books that are on the VRC listing, and there are 10 altogether, so there are 4 others that we didn't talk about, but I promise they are just as good. So I encourage you throughout the next couple of months, maybe as part of your summer reading type deal, read some of the VRC books, okay? We'll have resources out in the library for you so you know what they are, what posters, book lists, all different things. But we encourage you to read at least 4 of them so that way you can vote for your favorite, okay? Bonus if you can read all 10. That would be incredibly magnificent, okay? But I encourage you to read at least 4 of them. I promise you, it'll be totally worth it. I hope you have an incredible week, and I hope you tune back next time for a whole new teen book spotlight.